Hey everyone, and welcome. Today, we're gonna dive deep, right into a bowl of soup. Now, I know what you're thinking, but this isn't just any old soup, oh no. This is a dish that's packed with layers of culinary technique, cultural history, and believe it or not, a whole lot of philosophy. So let's get into it. This sea cucumber and cordyceps soup is seen as way more than just a meal. It's like a form of traditional medicine. This delicate dance of textures and aromas. You've got these precious essences from the mountains and the sea all coming together in one bowl. It's a real treasure. So, what is it that makes this soup so special? Well, we're about to peel back the layers and uncover all the hidden techniques and traditions that turn some pretty simple ingredients into an absolute masterpiece of both flavor and function. Okay, first things first, let's talk about what actually goes into this bowl. This is what you call a big dish. The kind of thing you'd make for a huge celebration or to really honor some important guests. And that's all because of the incredible ingredients it's built on. So the whole soup is really built around this core trinity of elements. You've got the sea cucumber, this treasure from the ocean, which is all about that unique bouncy texture, and it's packed with collagen. Then you have the chicken, that's your foundation from the land, giving the broth its soul, its richness. And finally, the cordyceps flower, a true mountain treasure, which gives the soup this stunning golden color and a really delicate earthy smell. All right, let's get technical and talk about the broth, because the true sign of a perfectly made soup isn't just the taste, it's the quality of the broth itself. And here's the tricky part. The goal is a total paradox. You want a broth that's super rich and golden, but at the same time perfectly crystal clear. So how on earth do you pull that off? How do you get that deep, beautiful color without a single bit of cloudiness? Well, it all comes down to a really meticulous, and I mean non-negotiable, preparation process. There are three absolute keys here. First, you have to start the chicken in cold water and heat it up slowly. This gently pulls out all the gunk. Second, after it boils, you rinse it really well under cold water to get rid of any of that scum. And finally, as it's simmering, you have to carefully skim off any oils that float to the top. You skip even one of these steps, forget it. You're never going to get that pristine, clear broth. Now, here's where things get really interesting. Making this soup is, well, it's like conducting an orchestra. It's not about just chucking everything into a pot and hoping for the best. The timing, when each ingredient goes in, is this deliberate ritual that builds incredible layers of flavor and texture. Let's just look at the timeline. Right at the beginning, in go the chicken, carrots, and dates. They simmer for almost an hour just to build a really strong, sweet base. It's only then, around the 50-minute mark, that the cordyceps flowers get added to let that golden color bloom. And here's the crucial part. The most delicate ingredients, the sea cucumber and goji berries, they only go in for the last 10 minutes. And this right here shows you exactly why that timing is so critical, especially for our star ingredient. If you toss the sea cucumber in too early, it'll get all soft and mushy. It can literally just dissolve into nothing. But if you add it in those final minutes, it keeps that amazing, bouncy, firm texture, what's called crouton. And it just locks in all its flavor. Honestly, timing makes all the difference between success and failure here. But hold on, the artistry doesn't stop there. There's another pretty humble ingredient that can be added to completely transform the entire dish. It takes it to a whole other Hall of Fame level. We're talking about scorched rice. See, in the Kaiping dialect of Cantonese, they don't just call it scorched rice. They call it Nung. And that word is so cool because it doesn't just describe what it is, it describes what it does. It's seen as the concentrated essence, like the very soul of the rice. And this points to a really fascinating cultural difference. In most of Guangdong, they call it fahanzu, which basically focuses on its physical state. It's a crispy thing. But in Kaiping, calling it Nung is all about its function, its power to act as a thickening agent and totally change a soup. It's a huge shift from what it is to what it does. And this all leads to this magical moment they call cheng nung, which means achieving thickness. When you drop that scorched rice into the boiling soup, it just starts to dissolve, releasing all its concentrated starch. In that crystal clear golden broth we worked so hard to create, it's intentionally transformed into this thick, creamy, incredibly fragrant soup. The dish is completely redefined in its final moments. It's amazing. So that brings us to our final and maybe the most profound secret hiding in this soup. We've established this is the ultimate nourishing dish, a real health tonic. But there's a deep piece of wisdom from traditional Chinese medicine, or TCM, that creates this fascinating paradox. So get this. Why would this ultimate health food, packed with all these amazing restorative ingredients, be the absolute last thing you should ever eat when you have a cold or a fever? I mean, that sounds completely backwards, right? Well, the answer is in this core TCM principle called Bi Men Lu Kol. It literally translates to closing the door to trap the thief. The metaphor here is so powerful. The thief is the sickness. Like a cold virus, the door is your body's own defenses. Taking a strong tonic, like this soup, is like locking the front door while the thief is still inside the house. So here's why it's such a bad idea. First, the tonic makes your body switch its focus to absorbing all those nutrients, which effectively traps the virus inside to do more damage. Second, ingredients like chicken are considered warm in nature, which is like adding fuel to the fire if you have inflammatory symptoms like a fever. Third, all those rich fats and collagen, they're just way too much for a weakened digestive system to handle. And finally, that amazing Nung texture, that thickness is believed to create more phlegm, making a cough even worse. So really, what this all boils down to is a fundamental difference in philosophy. Western nutrition often says, hey, fuel the body to fight the illness, give it protein and vitamins, like in chicken soup. But TCM food therapy says, no, the number one priority is to kick the invader out first. Your body needs to focus all its energy on that one job. So the best food is something super simple and easy to digest, like plain rice congee. The rich, nourishing soup, that comes after you've recovered to help you rebuild your strength. And that just leaves us with a final thought to chew on. This soup proves that food can be so much more than just, well, food. It can carry deep cultural logic and ancient wisdom. And it really makes you wonder, right? What hidden wisdom about healing and nourishment might be simmering away in your own family's or culture's food traditions? Definitely something to think about. Thanks for joining me on this one.